Well, hello everybody. Welcome to P.B.M. Money. You think algorithms aren't spot on? I did a video, and it just came up like 2 weeks ago on I-bonds. And now everybody in the world who has done a video on I-bonds is showing up on my line. So anyway, I figured since we're there, we may as well do another one. But the difference is going to be this. Normally the people who I do videos for are for people who are starting out on their journey. They don't have a whole lot of cash, or they have monthly income and they don't know what to do with it, how to make the most of it, or they want to become independently wealthy and they have nobody to show them. I was talking to a friend of mine, and her name starts with the letter M, which is how we're going to get the name of this video. And I told her I was going to do it on her, but I wouldn't use her name. And she said, "Oh, that's okay. Just use the name Mertanda." So she told me the story, and I said, "Fine, Mertanda it is." But the way I came up with M is I remember back to the James Bond movies. They all had a letter, like there was Q and M, and then they had numbers of 007. And so anyway, I thought M was kind of cute. Okay. So her situation is different than most people. Now she's quite a bit younger than I am. But because of her job, she hasn't paid rent, I don't think, in forever, or a mortgage. And ever since she's been working, she's told me that she's going to save all she can so she can go pay cash for a house. That's a great idea. And that's been almost 20 years ago. So she asked me the other day, she says, she started out by asking me about stocks and bonds and how can she invest and all that. And I said, oh, I get it. I said, when you're losing a half or 1%, it's no big deal if it's sitting in the bank. But now that inflation's up to 8% and you realize you're losing 8% of your money every single day, now you're concerned. And she said, yes. She said, I worked hard for that money and I don't want to lose a penny of it. I said, okay. So I thought about it for a while. And I was going to make a couple of suggestions to her, but in every instance, there was a possibility of her losing cash. And especially right now with the market so volatile. So the one that I ended up telling her about, now I'm going to tell you what are the restrictions right now. You can only put up to $10,000 in this, and I think 20 if you're married, or maybe you can put some in, in your kids' names. She has no kids, by the way. However, let me tell you a little bit about the I-bonds. They're issued by the government. You can't get them at banks. They used to be able to get bonds at the bank. You can't do that anymore. They only do them digitally, which means if I did my research correctly, they don't issue you a bond. They issue you a digital number. And see that I'm old school, so that kind of concerned me. But I mean, if you got a pile of cash sitting around, 10,000 is nothing. But if you figure losing 8% of $10,000 is $800 a year, okay, this might be worth it. So I told her to check into I bonds. Now, they are a great hedge against inflation, and that's why they were designed. Right now, as I record this, our inflation rate is 8.7% was the latest report. The I bonds change their rate every 6 months. They currently went up to 7.7%, I believe. And sometime, I believe in September, they are scheduled to go to 9 point something. So now, and there is a penalty for early withdrawal, and I think the minimum you have to keep them is 2 years. So if you get them in and take them out in less than 2 years, you'll lose the last 6 months' interest, which is significant. Now these bonds are not issued by a private company. They are issued by the U.S. government. That means they are guaranteed you will not lose money. They were designed specifically for the concern that she has. And obviously they were designed for people that don't have a whole lot of money because they put a $10,000 cap on it. But I will tell you this, and if I were a millennial and I were saving money for a house, I would do this. And here's why. Because $10,000 is about what you'll need to go buy your first house. So instead of saving $100 and losing $8 a year while you're trying to save it, you take that money, go buy an I bond, and by the time you reach the limit, you'll have your down payment. Or if you're waiting for the market to bust and you've got the money right now, go buy $10,000 worth of I bond and hold them until the market breaks and you got more of a choice of a house that you're going to get. Now, as far as I can tell, this is the safest investment you can make. It's issued by the government, so there's no risk of default. You're guaranteed an interest rate, even though it just keeps up with inflation. There is a limit on the amount of money that you can put in, but it's $10,000. And a report that I read not too many weeks ago said the average American doesn't have $1,000 in the bank to deal with the $1,000 emergency bill that comes up. So, if you are one of the few that have this problem, and you're looking for a place to put $10,000 so you can at least stay up with inflation, I bonds is a place to go. Now, under normal circumstances in a normal economy, I would have told her probably the S&P 500 stock fund. That's probably where I would have sent her, because the history of that is if you took any 15-year period in the history of the stock market, you will have made money. You will never have lost money. And that includes the Great Recession and all of that. And secondly, and I still believe this to be true for her, I think she needs to go set aside some of that money, because even the house she wants to buy, I think she's got the cash on hand, and if not, real estate will help her build some cash pretty quick. I think she needs to set aside some cash right now and go buy one or two little pieces of rental property. And here's why. Let's say she takes the same $10,000 that she was going to put into an I bond. Okay? She's going to make $800. If she takes that same $10,000 and goes and puts it down on a $60,000 piece of real estate, okay? You with me? Alright. That $60,000 piece of real estate will cash flow over and above her PITI about $500 a month. So the same $10,000 will net her 50% cash on cash return on investment. That's a much better investment. But I could not guarantee her there would be no loss, because there could be. The real estate market could go straight in the toilet tomorrow. Rents could bust loose. I don't think any of that's going to happen. I think the real estate market is set for a while. I think interest rates will go up. I think the availability will shake out. I think the value will go down. That's all true. That's all true. But I don't think it's doom and gloom, especially if you're renting it out. Because as the interest rates go up and the property value goes to where you can't get as much house, people can't afford to do that. So they've got to live somewhere, and the rental market will continue to strive. I think that's a better investment, but for what she's looking for is total safety. I-bonds is where it's at. Well, I thought I'd go back and touch on I-bonds. If you're interested, you can Google I-bonds on the internet. They'll give you all the specifics. But that solves a problem for a lot of people looking for a place to park $10,000 or less for a short term. And by short term, I mean 2 years or longer. That's all I wanted to say. You guys have a great day and happy investing.